First contact's folly. The stellar ship Dauntless hung motionless against the backdrop of endless stars, its quantum sensors probing the mysterious anomaly that had brought them to the edge of chartered space. Captain Maya Rodriguez stood at the bridge's observation window, her dark eyes fixed on the swirling distortion that had appeared 3 days ago, defying all known laws of physics. Another reading coming in, Captain. Lieutenant James Chen called from his station, his fingers dancing across holographic displays. The quantum signature is unlike anything in our database. It's as if space itself is being folded. Maya nodded, unconsciously touching the small medallion at her throat, a habit from her academy days when faced with difficult decisions. Humanity had spent the last century reaching for the stars, pushing the boundaries of quantum physics and dimensional theory. They'd found plenty of evidence of alien life, but never made direct contact. Until now. All stations, status report, she commanded, her voice steady despite the tension coiling in her stomach. Engineering reports, all systems nominal. First Officer David Okonjo responded, his deep voice carrying across the bridge. Dr. Patel has the quantum drive primed if we need a quick exit. Before Maya could respond, the anomaly flared with impossible colors. A massive vessel emerged, its surface rippling like liquid mercury, easily 3 times the size of the Dauntless. Its design defied conventional geometry, sections seeming to exist in multiple places simultaneously. Multiple energy signatures detected, Security Chief Sarah Hassan reported, her hands hovering over defensive controls. No weapons locked, but their power output. Captain, it's off the charts. Our sensors can barely process it. Maya straightened her uniform. Open communications, all frequencies. First contact protocols. The main view screen sparkled to life, revealing a being that seemed to be composed of pure energy contained within a crystalline framework. Its face was a kaleidoscope of shifting patterns that somehow conveyed expression. I am Captain Maya Rodriguez of the Earth vessel Dauntless. We come in peace, seeking diplomatic relations and cultural exchange. The alien's response came in perfect English, though no mouth moved to speak. How quaint. I am Archon Vix of the Ascendi Collective. We've been watching your species' fumbling attempts at interstellar travel with some amusement. Maya felt her crew bristle at the condescension but maintained her diplomatic composure. We may be younger than your civilization, but we've made significant strides in understanding the universe's fundamental laws. Fundamental laws. Vex's form rippled with what could only be described as laughter. You perceive perhaps 1% of reality's true nature. Your quantum theories are like a child's crayon drawings attempting to explain quantum chromodynamics. For the next hour, the Ascendi continued their dismissive assessment of human achievement. They spoke of humanity's primitive reliance on physical form, their amusing attempts at quantum manipulation, and their painfully limited understanding of dimensional physics. We will permit your species limited access to our outer trading posts, Vix finally declared. Perhaps in a few millennia, you'll evolve enough to be worthy of real interaction. Do try not to damage anything with your crude technology. After the transmission ended, Maya turned to her crew. Dr. Chen, what did our sensors gather during that conversation? James looked up from his station, excitement breaking through his professional demeanor. Captain, their arrogance made them careless. They never bothered to mask their quantum signatures. There's something fascinating in the data, patterns that suggest they're completely missing a fundamental aspect of dimensional mechanics. Explain. My sister at the Quantum Research Division has been working on a classified theory about dimensional intersections. The Ascendi are manipulating higher dimensions, yes, but they're doing it inefficiently. It's like they're brute forcing their way through, missing a more elegant solution that's right in front of them. Maya smiled for the first time since the encounter began. Get that data to your sister securely. The Ascendi think we're primitive animals fumbling in the dark. Let's show them what happens when you underestimate humanity's capacity to learn and adapt. As the Dauntless began its journey home, Maya looked once more at the Ascendi vessel. Their dismissal of humanity might just prove to be their greatest mistake. After all, humanity's greatest achievements had often come from being underestimated. The hidden advantage. Dr. Aria Chen stood before the holographic display in her underground lab at the Quantum Research Division, watching as her brother's data from the Dauntless played out before her. The patterns were unmistakable, beautiful in their complexity, yet somehow familiar. She'd seen something similar in her own research, though she previously dismissed it as an anomaly. "Play it again," she commanded, and the AI obliged. The Ascendi ship's quantum signature danced through the air, a symphony of higher-dimensional mathematics. But there, in the gaps between the obvious patterns, lay something the aliens had completely overlooked. Dr. Chen, her assistant, Marcus Webb, appeared at her side, holding a fresh cup of coffee. "You've been staring at that display for 6 hours straight." Aria accepted the coffee without taking her eyes off the data. "Because I'm looking at something impossible, Marcus. The Ascendi are operating on a fundamental misunderstanding of dimensional mechanics. They're treating dimensions like separate layers to be penetrated, when in reality." She gestured, and the holographic display shifted, showing her own theoretical models alongside the Ascendi data. "They're more like facets of a single structure. The Ascendi are using brute force to punch through dimensional barriers, but we might be able to simply step between them." Marcus frowned, studying the overlapped patterns. "But your original theory suggested human consciousness might play a role in dimensional perception. The Ascendi clearly don't believe we're capable of that level of understanding." "Exactly." Aria's eyes lit up. "Their dismissal of our primitive physical forms is their blind spot. They've evolved beyond physical bodies, but in doing so, they've lost something crucial: the unique way organic brains perceive and process dimensional information." She pulled up another dataset, this one from her previously controversial experiments in human dimensional perception. "Look at these brainwave patterns from test subjects exposed to dimensional anomalies. There's a striking similarity to the natural frequency of dimensional shifts in the Ascendi's technology. Are you suggesting humans have some kind of innate ability to perceive higher dimensions?" Marcus asked, skepticism evident in his voice. "Not just perceive, potentially manipulate." Aria began pulling up more data, her fingers flying across the holographic interface. "We've been approaching quantum mechanics from a uniquely human perspective all along, and that might be our greatest advantage. The Ascendi's technology is more advanced, yes, but it's also less efficient because they're ignoring the natural dimensional resonance patterns that human consciousness can naturally detect." The lab's secure communication system chimed, and Captain Rodriguez's face appeared on a secondary display. "Dr. Chen, please tell me you found something useful in that data. The Ascendi just established their first trading post in our solar system, and their representatives are becoming increasingly problematic." Aria straightened, suddenly aware of the implications of her discovery. "Captain, I need you to get me a secure meeting with the Defense Council. What I found, it changes everything. The Ascendi think they're gods playing with toys, but they don't realize the toys might understand the game better than they do." "How soon?" "Give me 48 hours to compile the data and run one final set of confirmatory tests." "But Captain," Aria paused, choosing her words carefully, "we need to keep this quiet. The Ascendi's arrogance is our greatest advantage right now. Let them think we're still fumbling in the dark." After the communication ended, Marcus looked at his mentor with concern. "The Defense Council isn't going to like this. Your theory about consciousness-driven dimensional manipulation was controversial enough before. Now you're suggesting we might be able to use it against the most advanced civilization we've ever encountered." Aria's expression hardened with determination. "They won't have a choice but to listen. The Ascendi think they've mastered the fundamental forces of reality, but they've missed something crucial: the power of the human mind to see patterns, to adapt, to imagine possibilities beyond the obvious." She turned back to the holographic display, where the overlapped patterns seemed to pulse with potential. The Ascendi evolved beyond their physical forms, thinking it made them superior, but in doing so, they lost something essential: the unique way organic consciousness interfaces with the dimensional fabric of reality. They see us as primitive because we're still bound to physical forms, never considering that these forms might give us capabilities they've lost. And if you're wrong, then humanity submits to being the Ascendi's pets until we evolve enough for them to take us seriously. Aria's voice was steel. But I'm not wrong. The data's right here. We just have to be brave enough to use it. As if in response to her words, the holographic patterns shifted, revealing new layers of complexity that seemed to confirm her theories. The Ascendi had opened the door to higher dimensions through brute force and advanced technology. But humanity might have found a back door, one that had been inside them all along. Project Prometheus. The Nevada desert shimmered under the scorching sun, its endless expanse hiding one of humanity's most closely guarded secrets. A mile beneath the sand and rock, Dr. Aria Chen stood in a circular chamber surrounded by the most advanced quantum technology ever created by human hands. But the real breakthrough wasn't the technology. It was the 20 volunteers seated in a meditative circle at the chamber center. Neural synchronization had 85% and climbing, Marcus reported from his station. Dimensional resonance patterns are stabilizing. Admiral Sarah Hassan, formerly security chief of the Dauntless, watched from the observation deck, her face illuminated by the soft blue glow emanating from the chamber below. 6 months had passed since the Ascendi's arrival, and humanity's position in the galaxy had become increasingly precarious. The latest report from the trading post isn't good, Hassan said quietly to Captain Rodriguez, who stood beside her. 3 more ships were denied access to basic technological exchanges. The Ascendi representative said our primitive understanding might cause us to harm ourselves with their advanced technology. Maya's jaw tightened. They're deliberately keeping us dependent while establishing more control over our solar system. How many outposts are there now? 7, all strategically positioned. Hassan's voice was grim. And our long-range sensors detected 3 more under construction. Below, one of the volunteers gasped as the air around the circle began to shimmer with impossible colors. Aria moved between them, her voice steady and encouraging. Remember your training. Don't try to force it. Feel the natural resonance between dimensions, like listening to music you've always known but never heard before. The shimmering intensified, and for a moment, reality seemed to fold in on itself. A small object, a simple metal cube, flickered and vanished from the center of the circle, reappearing instantly on a pedestal 30 feet away. Transfer successful, Marcus announced, excitement breaking through his professional demeanor. Quantum coherence maintained throughout the transition. No sign of dimensional instability. Aria allowed herself a small smile. End session and begin cool-down procedures. They've done enough for today. Later, in the facility's secure briefing room, Aria presented the results to the project leaders. We're making significant progress. The volunteers are learning to consciously perceive and manipulate dimensional boundaries without technological assistance. When we combine their natural abilities with our quantum technology, we're achieving results that should be impossible according to the Ascendi's understanding of physics. But is it enough? Hassan asked the question everyone was thinking. The Ascendi's technology is still far beyond ours. Their technology is more advanced. Aria agreed, but it's also fundamentally inefficient. They're using massive amounts of energy to tear through dimensional barriers. We're learning to slip between them naturally. She brought up a comparison of energy signatures. Look at today's test. We transported matter through 7-dimensional space, using less energy than the Ascendi used to power their basic communications. Dr. Chen, Maya leaned forward. How close are we to practical applications? The Defense Council is concerned about the Ascendi's expanding influence in our system. Aria shared a look with Marcus before responding. We're ready to begin Phase 2, installing dimensional resonance chambers in our ships. But there's something else. She hesitated, then continued. The volunteers are reporting sensations during the training. They're not just perceiving other dimensions, they're sensing the Ascendi's movements through them. It's like they're leaving ripples in spacetime that only human consciousness can detect. You're saying we could track their ships? Hassan's eyes widened at the implications. Better than that, Area activated another display, showing complex mathematical models. We might be able to predict where they'll emerge before they arrive. The Ascendi's dimensional transit leaves a signature, like thunder before lightning. Our volunteers can feel it coming. Maya stood, decision made. Begin Phase 2 immediately. Hassan, get me a secure channel to the Defense Council. They need to see these results. As the others filed out, Marcus lingered. We should tell them about the other thing we discovered. Area shook her head. Not yet. If I'm right about the true potential of human dimensional perception, the Ascendi's dismissal of our primitive consciousness might be an even bigger mistake than we thought. In the chamber below, the quantum machinery hummed quietly, while the lingering traces of dimensional distortion danced like aurora in the air. Humanity had found its advantage, not in superior technology, but in the very biological limitations the Ascendi despised. The question now was whether they could develop this advantage fast enough to prevent the Ascendi from tightening their grip on Earth's future. The coming storm. The Ascendi trading post hanging above Earth's orbit was a testament to their technological superiority. A massive structure that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, its crystalline surfaces refracting sunlight in impossible ways. Inside one of its many reception chambers, Captain Maya Rodriguez fought to maintain her diplomatic composure. Absolutely not. The Ascendi representative, a being of swirling energy named Nexus, chimed in what passed for amusement. Your species is not yet prepared for even basic gravitational manipulation technology. The last thing we need is for you to accidentally create a black hole in your solar system. Maya kept her expression neutral, though her hands clasped behind her back had tightened into fists. The mining colonies on Mars require more efficient transportation systems. Without gravitational assistance, we're struggling to meet basic resource needs. Then perhaps you should focus on more appropriate solutions for your developmental level. Nexus' form rippled with condescension. We've observed your species has a knack for primitive mechanical solutions. I'm sure you'll figure something out. As Maya's shuttle departed the trading post, she received an encrypted transmission from Admiral Hassan. Tell me you've got good news, Sarah. Better than good. Hassan's voice was tight with controlled excitement. Project Prometheus is ready for full implementation. The Dauntless has been fitted with the first operational dimensional resonance chamber. Dr. Chen wants you back at the facility immediately. The underground facility had transformed in the months since the first successful tests. The original chamber had been joined by dozens more, each humming with the combined power of human consciousness and quantum technology. In the main control center, Area Chen directed operations with the precision of a conductor leading an orchestra. The Ascendi have established 15 outposts in our solar system now. Hassan briefed the assembled project leaders. Long-range sensors indicate another fleet approaching. They're not even bothering to hide their movements anymore. They don't think they need to. Maya added, fresh from her frustrating encounter. They're so convinced of their superiority that they're becoming careless. Dr. Chen, please tell me we're ready. Area nodded to Marcus, who brought up a holographic display of the solar system. We've been tracking their dimensional signatures with our trained sensitives. The Ascendi use specific dimensional frequencies for different operations: communication, transportation, power generation. Thanks to their predictable patterns, we can now anticipate their movements with 94% accuracy. More importantly, Marcus continued, we've successfully installed resonance chambers in 6 ships besides the Dauntless Asterisk. Each chamber is staffed with a team of trained dimensional sensitives working in concert with our quantum systems. Show them, Area commanded softly. The display shifted to a live feed from deep space. The dauntless asterisk hung against the star field, its hull modified with subtle additions that masked the true changes within. As they watched, the space around the ship began to ripple. Traditional sensors detect nothing unusual, Marcus explained. But watch this. He overlaid a dimensional frequency analysis. The ship was surrounded by a complex web of dimensional interactions, far more subtle and intricate than the brute force methods employed by the Ascendi. Last week, we successfully transported the dauntless asterisk through dimensional space using less than 1% of the energy signature of an Ascendi transit, Area reported. They didn't detect a thing. But that's not the most important breakthrough. She brought up another display, this one showing brainwave patterns. Our dimensional sensitives aren't just detecting and manipulating dimensional space, they're starting to see patterns we never imagined existed. The universe has an underlying dimensional structure that the Ascendi, for all their advancement, have completely missed. How is that possible? Hassan asked. Because they evolved wrong, Maya realized, pieces clicking into place. They thought moving beyond physical form was pure advancement, but they lost something in the process. Our primitive organic brains can perceive aspects of reality their energy forms can't process. Exactly, Area confirmed. The Ascendi are like people who've removed their own eyes to replace them with advanced cameras, never realizing that human eyes can see things no camera can capture. Their technological solution is powerful, but fundamentally limited. But they have us surrounded, Hassan pointed out. Even with this advantage. A priority alert cut through the conversation. Marcus's hands flew across his controls. Multiple Ascendi ships just emerged from dimensional space. They're establishing a containment grid around Earth. On the main display, dozens of massive Ascendi vessels took position around the planet, their crystalline forms distorting space itself. They're not even trying to be subtle anymore, Maya growled. No, Area agreed, her expression hardening. But neither are we. Captain Rodriguez, the dauntless asterisk is ready. I suggest you show them exactly what humanity's primitive consciousness can do. As if in response to her words, the dimensional sensitives throughout the facility reported a massive disturbance building in the dimensional fabric. The Ascendi were preparing something big. The time for secrecy was over. Now it was time to show the Ascendi exactly what they'd overlooked. Breaking through. The dauntless asterisk hung in high Earth orbit, dwarfed by the massive Ascendi vessels surrounding the planet. In the ship's dimensional resonance chamber, 6 sensitives sat in meditative formation around a central quantum core, their minds linked through a network of delicate sensors. Captain Maya Rodriguez felt the subtle vibration through the deck plates, not from machinery, but from the quantum manipulation of space itself. Ascendi flagship is transmitting, Lieutenant Chen reported from his station. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing Vix's crystalline form. Your species' continued resistance to proper guidance has become tiresome. We are implementing direct oversight of your civilization's development. Your planetary defense systems will be deactivated. Your ships will remain in orbit. This is not a negotiation. Maya smiled, a gesture that seemed to give the energy being pause. You're right, Arkin. This isn't a negotiation. Dr. Chen, are you receiving this transmission? Perfectly. Area's voice came through the bridge speakers from her position in the resonance chamber. Their dimensional signature is exactly what we predicted. Ready on your mark, Captain. What are you doing? Vex's form flickered with what might have been concern. Your quantum emissions are unusual. You know what your greatest mistake was, Arkin. Maya stepped forward, her voice carrying the weight of months of preparation. You were so convinced of your superiority that you never bothered to really study us. You saw our physical forms as a limitation. You never considered they might be an advantage. She nodded to Admiral Hassan at the tactical station. Now, Doctor. In the resonance chamber, Area Chen opened her eyes, which seemed to reflect impossible geometries. All sensitives, initiate dimensional fold sequence. pattern omega. The space around the dauntless began to ripple, but not with the brutal dimensional tears characteristic of ascendi technology. Instead, reality seemed to flow like water, folding in ways that shouldn't have been possible. The massive ascendi ships suddenly found themselves firing their weapons into empty space as the dauntless simply stepped between dimensions. Impossible. Vex's form blazed with anger. Your technology isn't capable of. We're not using technology alone, Maya interrupted. We're using something you discarded millennia ago. The natural ability of organic consciousness to perceive and manipulate dimensional space. Computer, end transmission. The dauntless danced through dimensions, each transition smooth as silk, guided by the combined consciousness of its sensitive crew. Where ascendi ships tore through dimensional barriers with brute force, the human vessel slipped between them like water through a membrane. Multiple ascendi ships attempting to track us, Hassan reported. They're having to expend massive energy just to detect our passages. In the resonance chamber, Marcus monitored the sensitive's vital signs. Neural load at 60% and holding. They can maintain this for hours. We're not going to need hours, Aria replied. Her consciousness linked with both the sensitives and the ship's quantum systems. Captain, I'm reading a massive power buildup from the Ascendi fleet. They're trying to establish a dimensional lockdown grid. Too late, Maya allowed herself a fierce grin. Execute Phase 2. The dauntless emerged from dimensional space directly behind the Ascendi flagship, but something was different. The human ship seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, matching the Ascendi's own technological advantage, but with a fraction of the energy expenditure. Target locked, Hassan announced. Dimensional resonance disruptors ready. Archivix, Maya opened communications again. I suggest you reconsider your position on negotiations. While you've been busy looking down on us, we've learned to see the universe in ways your technology can't match. Your ships are powerful, but they're burning massive amounts of energy just trying to track us. How long can you maintain that? The Ascendi flagship's energy emissions fluctuated wildly as it tried to compensate for the humans' unexpected capabilities. Other ships in the fleet began reporting power drains as they attempted to maintain their dimensional positioning. This is a trick. Vex's form pulsed with uncertainty. Some primitive deception. No trick. Maya's voice was steel. Just the natural evolution of consciousness you thought you'd surpassed. Stand down your fleet, or we'll demonstrate exactly what happens when your dimensional drives encounter a resonance pattern they can't compensate for. To emphasize her point, the dauntless shifted again, its passage creating subtle ripples in dimensional space that caused several nearby Ascendi ships to flicker like bad holograms. What are you? Vix demanded. We're human, Maya answered simply, and we've just begun to understand what that really means. Evolution's edge. The standoff above Earth had lasted 23 minutes, but it felt like an eternity. The Ascendi fleet hung in disarray, their sophisticated dimensional systems struggling to cope with the subtle distortions the dauntless had introduced into local space-time. Captain Maya Rodriguez watched as Vix's form flickered and stabilized repeatedly, the energy being's crystalline containment structure struggling to maintain coherence. Their power signatures are fluctuating wildly, Admiral Hassan reported. They're burning through energy reserves just trying to maintain dimensional stability. In the resonance chamber, Aria Chen and her team of sensitives maintained their dimensional manipulation with the precision of master musicians playing a complex symphony. Captain, she called through the neural link, we're detecting something interesting. The dimensional disruption is affecting more than just their ships. Explain, Maya commanded. Their energy forms, their actual bodies, they're having trouble maintaining coherence. Our dimensional resonance patterns are interfering with the fundamental frequency they use to maintain their evolved state. On the main screen, Vex's form continued to destabilize. What have you done? The being's usually musical voice had taken on a discordant edge. This should not be possible. Your level of civilization. That's exactly your problem. Maya interrupted. You're so fixated on levels of civilization that you missed something fundamental. Evolution isn't a straight line. Sometimes what you perceive as a limitation is actually an advantage. Dr. Chen's voice carried a note of revelation. Captain, I'm seeing something in their dimensional signature. The Ascendi didn't just evolve beyond physical form. They forced it. They used their technology to accelerate their evolution artificially. And in doing so, Marcus added from his station, they locked themselves into a very specific way of perceiving and manipulating dimensional space. They can't adapt to what we're doing because their very existence depends on the dimensional frequencies we're disrupting. Maya leaned forward in her command chair. Archonvix, I suggest you withdraw your fleet immediately. Unless you'd like to discover exactly what happens when your energy forms encounter dimensional frequencies you can't process. You would threaten our very existence. Vix's tone carried genuine shock. After we came to guide your species to advancement. We don't need your guidance, Maya replied firmly. Humanity will find its own path to advancement, one that builds on our natural abilities rather than abandoning them. Now withdraw your fleet, or we'll be forced to demonstrate just how disruptive our primitive understanding of dimensional mechanics can be. For a long moment, the enormous Ascendi fleet hung motionless in space. Then, one by one, the massive ships began to retreat, their dimensional drives engaging with far less precision than usual as they struggled to compensate for the lingering effects of human dimensional manipulation. They're leaving, Hassan confirmed, watching her tactical display. All ships withdrawing to beyond lunar orbit. Captain. Vike spoke one final time, its form finally stabilizing as it moved away from the Dauntless's influence. Perhaps we were hasty in our assessment of your species' potential. Perhaps, Maya agreed. But more importantly, you were hasty in assuming there's only one path to advancement. Your civilization chose to abandon physical form in pursuit of higher understanding. We've discovered that the very limitations you scorned might be the key to understanding the universe in ways you never imagined. After the last Ascendi ship had withdrawn, Maya turned to her crew. Dr. Chen, what's our status? Arya emerged from the resonance chamber, her eyes still holding traces of dimensional perception. The sensitives are tired but stable. More importantly, we've learned something crucial about the nature of consciousness and its role in manipulating dimensional space. The Ascendi's technological evolution is impressive, but it's also rigid. They've lost the natural flexibility that organic consciousness provides. And that's our advantage. Maya nodded, not just in confronting the Ascendi, but in understanding the universe itself. They thought transcending physical form was the next step in evolution, but they didn't realize what they were giving up. So what now? Hassan asked, looking at the stars where the Ascendi fleet had been. Maya smiled. Now we continue to explore and advance, but on our own terms. The Ascendi thought they were coming to guide a primitive species to enlightenment. Instead, they may have discovered that true enlightenment doesn't mean abandoning what you are, but fully understanding and embracing it. As the Dauntless turned back toward Earth, the dimensional sensitives reported strange new patterns emerging in the quantum fabric of space, patterns that only human consciousness could perceive. They had proven that humanity's path to the stars would be uniquely their own, guided not by the judgment of advanced civilizations, but by the incredible potential that had been within them all along. The Ascendi had come to mock humanity's limitations, only to discover that those very limitations might be the key to understanding the universe in ways their advanced civilization had never imagined. Sometimes, the next step in evolution isn't to transcend what you are, but to fully understand what you've always been.